This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. I'm going to do a little bit of a throwback video today, even though it's a new video that I'm recording on May the 5th, 2024. Some people have been commenting on logos, and as most of you should know, or I assume you do know, when I started out on YouTube, I started out doing a lot of the signs and symbols to help wake up new people to what was going on, and it really seemed to help a lot of people out there who weren't aware of what was going on to start seeing the signs and the symbols. It's an easy way to wake people up, seeing signs and symbols, when you actually show it to them right to their face over and over and over, the repetitive pattern. And one of the symbols that I've never actually done a video on is the 666 in regards to corporations and companies that use 666 in their logos. And I recently saw a few people comment on a couple of videos that I did in regards to the logo, and they're not aware of a lot of these things, which shows me that there are new people who are finding my channel, which ultimately is why I continue here on YouTube, to reach new people. So I want to show you some of the major corporations that openly have the 666 right in their company logos. We start, of course, with the obvious, which is the World Economic Forum, the people and the group who's really behind bringing about this New World Order infrastructure. And you could see in the logo, the 666, if you go through the O's, if you take that, you see how they strategically do this? I mean, they do this with all the logos. They don't expect anyone out there to notice. And if you do notice it, they'll just ignore it or call you a conspiracy nut, right? But we've been trained and conditioned into thinking that these are just artistic expressions, that logos and these designs are nothing more than some unique artwork. But it's not. It's strategically done right in front of our faces. You could see this half, almost crescent moon that goes deliberately through the O's, right? It goes to the O in world, it goes to the O in eco, and it goes to the O in forum. That's deliberately done like that because you could see how it makes 3 6s. And of course, we know what the World Economic Forum is all about. It's about bringing about satanic global communism, which is Satan's government. It is a government where the civilians are slaves, they're subservients to the government, and this is all under the all-seeing eye of Lucifer. It's the Luciferian doctrine that they're normalizing, okay? Another one is CERN. CERN is one that I've talked about, again, many times with CERN, what they're trying to do over there with the opening of portals. They tell you that they're trying to open a black hole. Nobody has a clue. No common person out there has a clue of what they're even doing, and they don't ask questions about it because they say, well, I don't really understand. I don't get science. They're just trying to open up a black hole. They're trying to lift the veil, bring over what is on the other side, open portals and dimensions. You could see in the logo. What do you think, Wahimi? What do people think that that is at the top? If you actually remove each one of those circular formations around the name word CERN, you could see how it forms 3 6s very easily, and it's laid on top of one another. That's not a coincidence that the World Economic Forum and CERN, the first two that I open with, are probably the two biggest organizations that are bringing about not just a new world order, but bringing about and summoning of demonic entities from the other side. Now, again, people out there hear that and they think it's all crazy, but they don't realize they've been conditioned into thinking that's crazy. Every single movie that they watch probably has something to do with demons or demonic possession. We hear it normalized day in and day out. All the Disney films about witchcraft. Nobody realizes that this is a spiritual war. It is real. These things people cannot comprehend or grasp because they've been trained not to look at these things. They've been trained to think that this stuff is all conspiracy fodder. Even Christians who read the Bible, who should know about the lifting of the veil, what God has hidden, and what they're trying to bring forth from the other side. So as we continue on, Walt Disney is another real obvious logo. And of course, Walt Disney, we all know their connection to the CIA and the New World Order. Walt Disney is the mind control programming that is inflicted on the minds of the youth out there. And we've seen the effects that it has because nobody seems to be able to shake the Walt Disney programming. Adults continue to watch it, pass it on to their children, want to go to Disneyland, want to relive their childhood. Disney is and was a mind control experiment that they unleashed on America. Now it's unleashed on the entire earth. But they originally unleashed it on American civilians where they didn't even know what they were seeing. They were going, wow, I don't know what this is. And they kept watching and watching and watching, being indoctrinated with witchcraft, all the Disney films that are about magic, right? The Magic Kingdom, Snow White, right? The Forbidden Fruits, all these things that we see throughout Disney. This is all themed in biblical scripture. This is all themed in the forbidden fruit, the forbidden knowledge. This all stemmed in witchcraft, which again, it's right in front of our faces. Look at the 666 right in the Walt. You see the other 6 over the I in Disney, and of course the Y at the end. Now, I know a lot of people out there, they see this and they're like, oh my gosh, these people are stretching. You even see this is a lot of 6s in it. But Walt Disney's affiliation to the DeMolay and the stories that have come out about Walt Disney are something that if you are new to this, you should definitely research. I have videos on the website about it. Because there are people out there that don't know about the DeMolays, which is the children's organization of the Freemasons. Freemasons believe in the Luciferian doctrine. It's revealed to them through Freemasonry that Lucifer is God. That is the one that they worship. They implement this and they force this on children. Walt Disney is one of the faces of DeMolay. There are books out there about children who have come forward about some of the things that have happened behind the scenes at Disney. And you don't even want to know some of the stuff. It's so unbelievably disgusting. So let's just move on to Google, right? Google Chrome, the logo. Again, you could see a lot of the times they use a circle symbol in the middle, and then they'll use they'll prong it off like this and use different colors. You could see the yellow, the green, and the red, and how that forms a 666. Look, you just take the corners of each color, and you can see how it makes a 6, very much like the way CERN does it, right? What do you think? That this is just random? That Google is just like, I like this weird logo the best, right? Nobody thinks any further than that. Of course, you even have an eyeball symbol for all-seeing eye, if you think about it, right? It's a circle with an oculus. I mean, it's right in front of our faces. It always is. These corporations all worship the beast, okay? So we have the 666, very much like CERN, the same exact thing almost, with the way that it's laid over, like in the CERN logo. Then we move on to Taco Bell. It's another one that people out there don't know about. This is one that's been talked about and speculated about for a long time. The bell, obviously, you can see how it looks like a reptilian eye, but it actually also makes the swirl inside of the bell. So you can see each level here where there is, in fact, a 6. You have the 6 in the bell, you have a 6 underneath there, and then a 6 on the outer cusp of the overall bell. So you have a 666 in the Taco Bell logo. We have Monster Energy. Again, and you could see those, people just look at it, they think it's a monster's claws, right? Of course, we can see in Hebrew, the letter V, V-A-V, Vav, translates to the number 6. And the slogan, of course, for Monster Energy is Unleash the Beast, right? So it's right in front of our faces. It's not just a claw of some monster going down the center of the can, right? And Monster Energy is a very popular energy drink. And a lot of us have notions on these energy drinks and the dangers of these energy drinks and what's in these energy drinks. Okay, but I won't go into detail about that. I'll continue to move on here with the 666 and logos. You see Heineken, right? The Heineken logo. This is one that not many people know about. But if you flip over, upside down, the Heineken logo, you could see the 6s. The E's are 6s. And you can see how blatant this is with the pentagram, right? The upside down satanic pentagram, inverted, of course. So it looks like a star when you look at it normally, right? In the regular Heineken logo, this just looks like a star. Nobody even thinks anything of it when they see a star, which is a pentagram. I've talked about this many times. You see it on Starbucks. You see it with all these sports teams. Probably the most common symbol we see is the pentagram, but people out there don't realize it because they don't see the cross in between it, which we've been, told is the Wiccan star, the pagan star that is used in witchcraft. But it's the same thing. It's the points of the star. So it's the 5-pointed star. And when you flip the Heineken logo upside down, you get the 666 with the upside down pentagram, the Baphomet pentagram, the same logo, of course, used by the Satanic Temple and other satanic organizations. We'll move on here to Fox. Fox is an obvious one, an easy one for people out there to realize that the Republican-controlled media is also part of the beast system. And you should be able to see that even just from, if you research some of the stuff on Fox and what charities they donate to, how right in your face it is that this so-called conservative organization still openly donates to places like Planned Parenthood, etc. So if you look at the numerology, how it lines up with the alphabet, the F, the O, and the X are all 6 in numerology, lining up with the alphabet letters. So F-O-X, 666. So that couldn't be more obvious. Then we get Coca-Cola, right? Coca-Cola is another one that people out there don't really know that much about. If they look at the logo, again, look for those spirals that you often see. Those twirls, sometimes it's hidden right in there. You could see the C in cola with the 6, right? Connecting all the way across. The L as well as a 6 in Coca-Cola. Of course, Coca-Cola's got even some of those bottles out there. Share a Coke with Satan, some people have seen floating around the shelves. Another one is Apple. And again, Apple doesn't have the 666 in the logo, but Apple flat out uses 666 numerology. And of course, the apple itself does represent the forbidden fruit. But if you're not familiar with Apple and the first Apple that was sold, the very first Apple, which is probably the biggest brand, one of the biggest brands in the world today, is Apple. Everybody knows Apple. Everybody has probably some type of Apple device or has had one over their lifetime. Apple, the first one ever sold, was $666.66. And, well, let's just, not a lot of people ever talk about Steve Wozniak. We hear a lot about Steve Jobs, but here's Steve Wozniak, who is one of the founders of Apple. Talk about why the first one sold for $666.66. If you were born yesterday, you would believe his reasoning.
Steve Jobs came into town. He'd pop into town, see what I was up to, the latest thing I designed for fun, and then he'd somehow turn them into some money for both of us. Paul Terrell, he owned a store in Mountain View. He'd seen me for quite a long time demonstrating my computer. So Steve Jobs went in to sell him some of our little boards that we built for $20. He said, no. People want to come in, they want to buy it pre-built. They want to buy the thing ready to go. It cost us $250 to build maybe. We'd sell it for $500. And then the retail price was $666.66 because I, as a mathematician, like repeating digits. And that was what it should be.
So, of course, it should be very obvious for people to see that it wasn't really sold for $666.66 because he liked repeating numbers. You could even see the crap-eating grin on his face as he tells you that. But again, if you see all these corporations and you see the pattern here, it should become very easy to see. If you just saw one of these and you saw Apple, you'd be like, well, maybe it was just that, even though of all the numbers to use 666, I mean, how obvious could it be? And again, if you're not familiar with 666, in Revelation chapter 13, verse 18, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. That is where the 666 comes from. And we could see all these corporations that worship the beast. They aren't all randomly putting it in their logos. And of course, we could see some of these corporations, these brands, how we're headed towards the mark of the beast implementation and how they're going to play a part in this, specifically Apple with the technology that I've been talking about for years and years and years. They're not putting the 666 in their logo, for you to actually be able to decipher it. They're putting it there where they can get away with it. And they expect people who have knowledge and have understanding and have eyes to see and ears to hear to see this stuff. But they don't expect the common person to understand. In fact, the common person has been trained to dismiss this stuff and think it's all conspiracy fodder. But the fact of the matter is, they reveal themselves every single day to us, not just by their actions, by their signs and symbols. Okay? If they came out and Apple was like, here's our logo, it's an apple, and it said Apple 666, maybe people would actually see it and wake up and find Christ and realize that this stuff is real. Right? Or turn from Apple, not buy Apple products. But instead what they do is they code things like this, and then they tell you that, you're thinking too far into it, right? You're using too much common sense. Some other corporations out there that use the 666 are Vodafone. You can see the 6 in the O. You can see the 6 in the overall logo. You can see the 6 upside down in the other O. We see it even in Beats by Dre. A lot of the logoing, I get it that it's just one B that you could turn and it looks like a 6, but you could see a lot of the marketing and the advertising that Beats by Dre use. They always use 3. Not every single time, but the majority of times they'll use 3, so you can see the 666 with Beats by Dre. Lucius is another company that uses the 666. Looks a lot like CERN, looks a lot like Google, right? They don't even try to get creative about this stuff, and you're supposed to believe that these corporations, these big brands, have this huge marketing team and they're worth trillions of dollars, and this is what they come up with. They come up with these logos that are all eerily similar. Even Coca-Cola's logo is very similar, the type of font, in some senses, to the Walt Disney with the script of 6s that are put in there. So this is all strategically done. This is not done at random. This is not just them going, hey, what do you want to use? Let's sell a computer for $666.66. Specifically, if you look at the World Economic Forum, CERN, and Google, because those are really 3 of the big ones that are going to play a big role in the implementation of the mark of the beast. You have one company that's literally destroying infrastructure to bring about the Internet of Bodies, which is the World Economic Forum, who has the 666 in the logo, right? You have CERN, who's literally trying to lift the veil and bring over these demonic entities that most of us believe that need vessels to be summoned inside of, which will be human beings that are transhuman because it comes into the technology. And then you have Google, right? Which is really the beast. And, you know, you could think no further than the internet. www is really 666. That's what it translates into in Hebrew. 666 www, right? Google Chrome. Google is really what's associated most with the internet. I mean, everyone says Google this, Google that, right? Into the hive mind, search for whatever you're looking up or thinking about. Find the answers through the beast, through 666, through www and Google. So there's a lot of this stuff is right in front of our faces. Just a lot of people refuse to see it. So I just want to put a video out there about the 666. If anybody out there didn't know, it should be very obvious to those of us, again, with eyes to see and ears to hear. This is all around us, and I probably missed some of the logos. There's probably more. That was just me. You know, yesterday I was thinking about this stuff after reading a couple of comments that people had about logos, and I just figured, hey, you know, I never did one on all the 666s, and if I did, I don't remember doing it. But I've done so many videos, as you could see, over the years. It's always, every day is an opportunity to teach people some of this stuff, and I know there's a lot. You can go into deep detail about stuff, and trust me, I can. But it's always just more important to get people on a surface level who don't even know these things, or even if you're awake and you didn't know some of these logos, it's an easy way to wake people up. You know, if you go into deep detail about things like CERN and what they're trying, it's too hard for people to grasp. If you go into deep detail about satanic ritual abuse, it's too hard for people to grasp. But if you could see some obvious stuff like the signs and the symbols, even somebody out there has no idea about this stuff we're talking about, a light bulb goes off and they start getting, you know, wait a minute, right, that is a little suspicious. And it helps bring about their awakening process. Then it brings them to actually go down a rabbit hole of research and realizing that this stuff is all here in front of us for a reason. This is all biblical prophecy, but it's a spiritual war that's taking place. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you found this video useful. God bless all of you and your families as always.